guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. A great big shout out to my channel members for supporting my channel. Thank you. Alright guys, so in this month's edition of Crack the Vault, it is a monthly collab hosted by Poet Spice. And the whole point of this monthly collaboration, and check out all of the channels linked below, is that we should be using the stuff that we have or using stuff that we've never actually touched. So a lot of the stuff that you see here on the desk has been in my stash for several months, if not several years. And so we're just going to make some easy hidden paper clips. Now my inspiration for this was twofold. I had seen Poet do a journaling video a couple of months ago, and she showed some of the hidden paper clips she had made, and I always thought they were interesting. And then recently I watched a video by My Porch Prints. I'll go ahead and link their channel below, where they showed one that I think is by far the easiest method to make a hidden paper clip. Now the caveat is that it is 3 layers, and I've altered it slightly from what I've seen in her video, and I'll actually at the end of the video I'll explain why I altered it just slightly. So as you can see, there's a mess on the desk. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to be using one of these 2-inch paper clips, but you can use the small ones, and I'll show you some examples of that. But just for ease, because I will be zooming in when I can, this is just easier for me to use on camera with you guys. If you've never done a video where you're actually crafting on camera and trying to talk through a process, it can seem a lot more tedious than the process actually is, but that's just trying to explain something so that it makes sense to people. All right, so I also used, for one of the examples, I'll show you some examples at the end of the video. One of this is a sheet from this paper pad right here. I don't link things in my video. If you're looking for this, I would just do DCWV Botanical Beauty on Amazon. It is several years old, so I don't even know if this is still in stock. So I just use that from here. Although, to be honest, you can use any kind of scrapbook paper. I've got a whole thing from Your Creative Studio of various die cuts and things. And again, I'll show this how I use some of my items later. When I'm doing the construction with you guys, I'll explain why some things are better than others, but we'll go from there. Okay, so we'll take one of these. Now, it doesn't have to be coated like this is. It's just what I had on hand. So I'm going to use one of this because it's easier to see than this silver one. Okay, and again, this is one of those 2-inch paper clips, just regular paper clips. This is a scrap that I had, and it is very thin. And for the first 2 layers of this, very thin is actually preferable because it's easy to bend. So what I'm going to do is I kind of want to approximate how long this is going to be. Actually, just let's fold it in half. So the measurements on the paper clearly don't matter, and they really don't. And I'm going to clip this in. And you could do a whole row, but for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to do the one. If you look at it, there is a long side and there is a short side. And that makes a difference because in My Porch Prints, I think that's the name of the channel, they just left it as is. How I adjusted it just slightly is I want this paper to be longer than the paper clip because I want to fold this up, and I'm folding it up on the side that has the long side of the paper clip. Again, this may not make any sense, but it will, I promise. And it doesn't matter if this is straight or not because we haven't glued anything down. And then origami style, we're just going to match this up. Again, as you can see, no measuring. Now you can definitely see that there is a difference because this one has a gap. This one barely has a gap, and that's why we're using this, so that it's long enough to take care of the longest side. Now I'm going to trim this, just eyeball it for now. and I'm going to glue this down. Now, I have some Fabri-Tac in my arsenal. I could not tell you how old this is, so I don't know if it's supposed to be this thick or this sticky. And the reason why I use it, and again, I'll show you why in just a bit, is because it doesn't warp the paper. So I'm going to glue that flap, and I'm going to glue this one down. Again, the one that I saw in that video didn't do this step, so hers is even easier. But again, there's a reason why I'm doing this step. Oh, and if it's off camera, I've got a roll of clear packing tape that I'm using this so that the glue is at the point. I'm pretty sure there's something much higher rent than that, but that's what I have, so that's what I'm using. Okay, so far so good. Ugh, I hate bits of glue everywhere. I don't actually craft a lot, and I hate glue on my fingertips. So I've got that, so that's all glued down. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, because it's right here on my desk, and I'm just going to cut this off. And what I want from this top sheet is I want it to be shorter than this. So again, not measuring anything. It doesn't have to be perfect, but as you can see, there is a strip of the paper underneath it, so I know that it's shorter. I'm going to trim this. Again, just doing one for the purposes of this video. And then I'm going to glue this down. Now you can see that there's that rough edge right there. I will clean it up, but you wouldn't need to. And again, I'll show you why in a little bit. So I'm going to put glue all the way down. I'm going to put this on top. And it doesn't have to be perfect because again, we can trim it. And I only glued the one side because I want to make sure that I take into account up here. Again, hard to see, especially with my big man hands. And then on the other side, I'll glue down as well. And then I'll just sandwich that down. I'm going to let that dry for a little while. But as you can see, it is pretty seamless. Now, because the paper's thin, you can still see just a slight outline of the paper clip, and you can certainly feel it. Now, if you use other types of glue, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, you can actually see the wrinkling in the paper. Now we are covering this up, so that doesn't make that much of a difference. But I did find it very interesting that because of the Fabri-Tac, it doesn't, for whatever reason, doesn't make the paper wet, so therefore it doesn't wrinkle. So that's very seamless and it's very strong. Okay, so I could let that dry a little bit longer. But I am actually going to trim this down because I want this for this here. So I'm going to feel where that is and I'm going to cut. Now I could put that on top, but I don't feel the need to. Because so long as I'm leaving a little bit of a border on either edge of the paper clip, and like I said, I can feel it, then it doesn't matter as long as it's just thinner than the paper that I cut out. Okay, so you can see that it is. And because the paper clip goes all the way to the top here, if you want this to be a tab in a journal or a book or whatever, then you're going to want to account for that on the top. So if I wanted to, I could go all the way to the top, trimming the edges there, but then that means when I'm clipping it into a book, it's going to go flush there. So the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to have it so that it's a little bit of a tab. So when I'm putting it in a book or a journal or whatever, then that sticks out. Now, I punched that out myself just because there was a hole there, but you wouldn't have to. And if you didn't punch it out, then again, you could go all the way to the top, and that's definitely a personal choice. So instead of trying to figure out the glue on this one, I'm just going to put the glue on this here. And you could ink the edges. I'm not going to. I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. And it does help that this is longer than the actual paper clip. And then it truly is hidden. And I'm going to put glue on this side and then sandwich the other piece. And it does help, at least if you're looking from the front and the back of it, if both of your sandwiching pieces are exactly the same shape. So just kind of eyeball that. Now I did ink these before I came on camera, and the reason why I chose to use this iced spruce distress ink that I had in my stash is because when I pulled out this, whatever tool this is, that pad was already green, and so I figured, okay, well, then I guess our inking is going to be green, just because that's the kind of crafter I am. So you can see if you do a whole row of these, then it can actually go by rather quickly. Now you might be wondering why I used that method where the bottom and the top are covered. Now this again was already done in her video. That portion there is because I feel that it gives a more finished edge if you're looking at it from the inside, plus there's no way that it's going to get caught in that paper. So I think it just makes it glide on easier. Now what you can do once you have your hidden paper clip, because for all intents and purposes this is done, you can go ahead and do additional embellishments. Now this is a die cut that I had multiples of, and so I just put in again the paper clip there, and then I added some stickers on top of it. Now if you're going to use this in a book, you also want to be careful on the thickness of this. Now for something like this, you could actually add a pocket and then put a little journaling spot, but again, just for the basic construction, this gives you an idea. This is actually stickers, but I didn't take the backing off. I used a small paper clip, something like that, and then I put some tags on top of it. Again, these are stickers that I just didn't take the back off of, but the construction of it is exactly the same. I had one of these bulb safety pins that I just put as an embellishment there. Again, if I were using this in a journal, I don't know that I would put that. And then let me get a journal for you. All right, so this is my Maisie Lane Co. A5 journal, and I chose this specifically because this paper is thick. So this is just going to slide on right at the top. And because where I glued it, that's as high as it's going to go, and that means it sticks out nicely, right? So hopefully you can see that on the side there. Now because it does take a little bit of finagling, I don't know that I would put it on something like Hobonichi paper because this paper is so thin. And to be honest, I don't know that I would put a paper clip on Hobonichi paper. So it goes on, but I'd be worried about it. Plus, because the paper is so thin, it could actually, depending on how long you're keeping it in here, create a dent on your paper. So again, I wouldn't use it on thin paper, but that's just me. But I certainly would use it either in a book as a bookmark or a coloring book because it wouldn't be permanent, or in something like a journal, which my A5 Maisie Lane Co. is, that has thicker paper. So again, those are just some of the examples that I've made. You can be as ornate or as simple as you want it to be. It certainly uses things in my stash. And again, I don't craft generally, but I do like participating in this monthly collab, and I do like seeing what I can do by watching videos of others and if I can create it. And because I don't craft as much, the difficulty of it. For some of you, this might just be easy peasy, and for some of you, this might be all brand new, but hopefully it's stuff that you can use and create for your own. For these outer pieces, it does help if they're a little thicker, just because then they'll last a little bit longer. It really just depends on what you're using these for. If they are just decorative tabs in your planner, your journal, whatever, and you're not moving it around much, then the wear and tear is probably going to be very little. If it's something that you're moving on a weekly or daily basis, then you may want to make sure that this is as thick as possible, although because it's very easy to construct, you can certainly make more. The inking of the edges is absolutely unnecessary. Some people don't like to see the white of it. I just did it just to try it. I've actually never inked anything up like that before, but I did have all the materials on hand. All right, guys, I'd love to know if you have made any of these or if you'll be making this, because again, the construction is really easy. Well, that's it for me for now. And as always, aloha.